It is actually true that there's a light shining over the world. We're trying to help very strongly in getting the hostages back, as you know, with Israel and the Middle East. We're working very much on that. We're trying to get the war stopped, that horrible war that's going on in Ukraine with Russia. Since the election, I've been working every day to put the world at ease a little bit, to get rid of the wars. We had no wars when I left office, and now it's the whole world is blowing up. But there's great optimism. This will be the most exciting and successful period of reform and renewal in all of American history, maybe of global history. The golden age of America, I call it. It's begun.
Okay, I put that in because it shows presidential leadership. And you know, these press conferences, this was at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, of course. He's not speaking to Americans only, he's speaking to the entire world, to dictators, to free market leaders, whoever they may be, the entire world. We got Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor and Fox News contributor, Mark Simone, Hall of Fame WR radio show host, Joe Concha, Fox News contributor and author of The Greatest Comeback Ever. I just put it up there, Charlie, because I don't think it's gotten enough play. It's a pretty remarkable thing. He went 70 minutes. He was good. He was global. He was taxes. He was Hamas, beware, I'm coming after you if you don't make a deal. He was reform and renewal, what he just said. He never flinched. He had a great leadership tone. And I dare say, I mean, it's part of his honeymoon, as Rich Lowry put it the other night, but I dare say the country hungers for that kind of thing.
I think they do. And I mean, he's basically the president now.
Yes.
Probably helped somewhat by the fact that Joe Biden has just completely disappeared, and he has been sort of disappeared for a while now. But I think it's particularly interesting when you talk about the international audience listening to all this. And we've seen this with his trip to France, where he's even abroad acting like the president. But it's kind of interesting because let's not forget that Joe Biden, you could look at this as sort of a Joe Biden sandwich with the two Trump presidencies as the pieces of bread and Joe Biden in the middle. And Joe Biden is the most experienced foreign policy president we have ever had when he came into office. Nobody who's ever been elected president had more experience on the world stage than Joe Biden. And Donald Trump is exactly right. There were no wars under Donald Trump, and we have two, maybe three that started under the greatest foreign policy expert to ever enter the White House. And it's going to take the return of Donald Trump to end those wars.
And Joe, you know, our friends and enemies watch it. I particularly am interested in our enemies. You know, in Putin, in Xi Jinping, okay, in mullahs, whoever they are, who's ever left, wherever Assad might be hanging out. Any of these, or you know, these are two-bit. The guy Lula in Brazil, who's become an anti-American left-wing, so forth. I want them to see how strong Trump can be. I want them to be scared to death that when he says to Hamas, you know, the big hammer is coming if you don't release the hostages. I want that. I want our enemies to see just how good he is, how good he was on Monday when he did that news conference. That's why I keep saying, it was a global event of leadership.
This was a president, and I keep calling him the president, I'm sorry, he's the president-elect, but to Charlie's point, he's essentially the president right now, who didn't need to call on reporters from a hand-picked list.
Right.
And limit it to 6 or 7, and then everybody yells the reporters out of the room, right?
100%.
And he went, as you said, more than an hour. Joe Biden has yet to give a press conference this entire year. Think about that. In 2020, in Donald Trump's final year in office, he gave 35 solo press conferences. Joe Biden, again, the only time you hear about him is him breaking the record for the most pardons in a day or commutations in a day. He's currently in Delaware right now. He'll be there probably for the foreseeable future. Poll came out today, Marquette. Joe Biden is now at 66% disapproval.
Disapproval?
There's a 32-point gap between his approval and his disapproval. He may go out as the most
Trump's approval?
Unpopular.
Trump's approval in that poll?
Yeah.
53.
53%.
53. Big. That's why I say, I mean, he's enjoying a well-deserved honeymoon. I'm just saying that.
Yep.
Now, Mark Simone, something Joe referred to, can't let it rest, 1,500 pardons. 1,500 pardons and commutations. Which is to say, Joe Biden is still president, in name only, but he's still president and can do a lot of damage through January 20th, which is a month away, more than a month. I mean, that's a scary thought. What are we going to do, Mark Simone?
Well, there's a whole process of pardons. The Justice Department reviews each one. There was obviously no time to review 1,500 of them. So I guarantee you they were people that bought a Hunter painting. They were somebody that donated to a congressman who called for the favor. I guarantee it was all favors.
You almost took like the New York City phone book and just started sending them off. I'm going to pardon this. I'm going to pardon that. Well, wait a minute. Let me see the police ledger. Who's locked up today here in New York with Alvin Bragg and friends, and then pardon them.
And remember, the ugly ones come the final week. So these are not the worst ones. The worst ones are coming. You're talking about Trump and world leaders. His rhetoric, his bluster might intimidate them, but the most crucial moment of this campaign, when that bullet hit him and knocked him to the ground, and he leaped up and pumped his fist, any world leader, I don't care how tough you are, has to realize you can't intimidate Donald Trump. After seeing that, nothing would intimidate him.
That, by the way, was a physically imposing event. I mean, he's not a kid. He was hit by a bullet. He got up, and he started pumping his fist. They're trying to escort him off. In other words, not everyone in the world could do that. Not everyone in the world would do that. A lot of these leaders would have just kind of crawled into a hole. Trump refused to do it. Another sign. Another sign.
I know 23-year-olds that couldn't keep up with Donald Trump over the past year. And here's this guy, pushing 78 and trucking along and and of course loves it, as you know as well as anybody, thrives on it. Indeed. This is what he, and then you have people talk about how, wondering, well, what are we going to do about Nicaragua? How are you ever going to get Venezuela to take these illegals back? Are you kidding me? Donald Trump, that's exactly the kind of negotiation Donald Trump loves the most. You've got working parts, and the most important thing is that those foreign leaders look at him and they see those scenes and they realize they're dealing with a guy that is completely mentally there and is out to
I want them
win
to
for
be
America.
scared to death of him, honestly.
I think they
want them
are.
to respect him,
Yeah.
and I think they are too. I mean, they're treating him much better, even in the phony left-wing press in Europe, which is every bit, if not worse, as bad as our phony left-wing press here, but he's getting better press. Yes, he says, well, I changed my personality. I don't know. Perhaps he did. Perhaps the whole thing has had an impact on him. But, Joe, he's got work to do on domestic economic policy. I mean, all of a sudden, the stock market's flipping down, and this goofball running the Fed has made so many mistakes. Inflation turns out it's still a problem, and this and that. And he's not going to cut interest rates and blah, 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 blah. Trump's going to come in there and just say, here's what you're going to do. Mr. Thune, good man, John Thune. Mr. Johnson, another good man, my view, good man. Here's what we're going to do. Jason Smith, we're going to cut taxes. We're going to cut the budget. We're going to listen to the Doge brother. In other words, he's going to do that. Before this, I don't know when. It may be in the next couple days. It may be in January. Maybe he's going to come down and just say, this is what we're going to do. Last thought, Joe Concha.
And that's what's different between 2017 and 2025.
Right. That's right. He wouldn't do, that's right.
He had people there that were not on the same page who worked against him.
Because this is his party now.
This is his party now.
Absolutely. That's
the
great.
MAGA party.
You know what? I should have put that in my riff. I'll put it in the next riff. It's exactly right.
All right.
MAGA party.
Attribution.
Last word, Mark Simone.
I don't think it's a honeymoon. I think the press is intimidated by him. I think everybody's intimidated by him. They realize he's too powerful to mess with.
Did you say today, it's thanks to Jason Riley, but if you read the New York Times is now informing its readers that we have an illegal immigrant problem.
Yeah, and
They just discovered this. It's a fantastic discovery, very remarkable.
Actually, there's an article today in the Times saying Joe Biden is slowing down a little. No, I'm serious. And tomorrow they're going to write about the Titanic, what happened.
Mark Simone, Joe Concha, and Charlie Hurd, you're all very terrific. I appreciate it.